Now, Elliott wave is speculation, but again, my accounts are suggesting that we're going to get a bigger sell-off, and again, likely closer to that 40 to 50% sell-off I've been talking about. I think it'll be closer to the lower end of the target, towards the 60 to 63,000, towards the 50% sell-off before we get the big rebound, the massive relief rally. But again, I have a couple of different Elliott wave counts going on, as you know. This count suggests that we're still in crash wave 3, primary wave 3. My alternative count is crash wave 3 finished here, and you have primary wave 3, 4 done here. Now we're in primary wave 5. We get one more push down. This count would suggest that we get another push down, a rebound, and then another push down after that. One of those counts I think are likely to prove to be correct. We bottom out closer, just under 74,000, or closer towards the 200-week moving average, towards 60 to 63,000. We'll see, but I think we're going to bottom out in that 63,000 to 74,000 area, or maybe even, again, more than 50%, more than 63,000, which is what I think is probably going to be the case, closer to the 200-week moving average. Nevertheless, I digress. This is what I think is going on. I think you have primary wave 1, the blue count, primary wave 2. I think you're in crash wave 3. That'll be followed by wave 4, primary wave 4. After primary wave 3 is done, the crash wave 3 is primary wave 3. I think it's unfolding in 5 waves, a intermediate wave 1, 2. I think this is intermediate wave 4. I think you're in intermediate wave 5 right now, and I think it's unfolding these 5 minor waves. I think you have minor wave 1 done. I think you're in either minor wave 2 or minor wave 2 finished right here, and you're now starting this minor wave 3, because this low is slightly lower than the other one. So either you're starting the wave 3 right now, smaller micro waves in minor wave 3 of intermediate wave 5 of primary wave 3. Are you picking up what I'm throwing down? Or this whole thing is a 1 and a 2, and you're about to get a 3-leg push. And we'll see how it unfolds if we start dropping here off of the 50-period moving average, and we're testing the 200 again, as we keep doing over and over here. We keep testing the 200, the 50 remains below it. So if you get another leg down, again, got to take out that support zone to resume the decline, as we've been going sideways here. And again, like I said, I think that this drop goes on into January, maybe even longer, maybe on into February. I told you I thought it would go to January, but I also told you the stock market has to play catch up, so it could drag out on into February. But I think that you're going to take out 80,000. I don't think that was a bottom. So those are I think the two possibilities here, is that we have a 1 and a 2 down for wave intermediate wave 5. We have these first 2 minor waves done, or minor wave 1 done here, minor wave 2 done here, and you're now getting these smaller microwaves for minor wave 3 in a 1-2 move that was going to likely be followed by something like that. Now, if we were to see my signals turn back to bullish, and I talked about this in my last update, I talked about this last week, if we were to see my signals turn back to bullish, you can get the larger counter trend right now in a bear market rally. I doubt that's going to happen. I think we have to move further away from the 50-week moving average in the weekly time frame in order to have the bigger bear market rally. But if we were to clear 98,900, again, the alternative count would be that this is primary wave 3, this is primary wave 4, but we would not exceed 103,600. I think that is less likely. I think it's more likely we get a bigger drop first and then get a bear market rally. I don't think the bear market rally happens until the Fed panics. I really don't. I think that Japanese rate hikes are going to weigh on Bitcoin. I think the Fed pausing. I think there'll be other catalysts. Again, I continue to talk about the coming banking crisis, and eventually we're going to get the labor market deteriorating even further. I don't think this ends until, I don't think Bitcoin bottoms until the Fed panics. And I think that is coming early 2026. I told you either January, or maybe it drags out here into the first quarter. The Fed is often very late to the party to figuring things out. So some Elliott wave counts here. Speculation. This is why I told you over here, predicted this rally, predicted it would either go on to just after Thanksgiving or to the Fed. It went on to the Fed, and I told you we would not go. We'd go up to the low to mid 90,000 range. We did. Told you we would not exceed 98,900. We did not. I was correct about that. Sold off. Now we're kind of going sideways. I think we're getting ready for the next plunge. We'll see if that plays out. If we get rejection off the 50 period moving average, which we're testing in the daily time frame. As I talk about in the video, we've moved above the downward trend line with the linear scaling, but we're coming up to just underneath it or slightly just below it with our log scaling trend line. A little bit better seen on the daily chart, which you'll see in this video. Please support the channel with the link directly below that allows me to be able to provide you this information. If you like my charts, you like my indicators, and you will, and please consider supporting the channel today. I don't know about you, but these indicators have helped me. I hope they help you, providing information about Bitcoin for you as good as they have done for me. If you find that kind of cutting edge information useful, then please support the channel. I don't have any sponsors. I don't have any affiliate links. I turn all those offers down. I just ask that you just do what you can to help out. Step up to the plate. Support the channel. Let me know you want this information rather than go play golf. I need to hear from you in order to make that work. So if you could just take a moment and partner with me, it would really be encouraging to hear from you. If you take a moment to do that, I would really, really appreciate it. If you follow the link below, it'll take you to a secured site and you can donate any amount you want. Thank you for your consideration for that. Bitcoin continues to have be in a risk-off environment. We are in a risk-off environment for Bitcoin. You can see that right there, and the Bitcoin trend continues to be down. So again, we are going sideways, and you have to break 83,000 to 80,000, which is our support zone, to get confirmation we are resuming the advance. We have already started, or resuming the sell-off, I should say. We have already started the sell-off here. We're getting a lower high now, below 94,000 with the Fed. We peaked with the Fed again, just like we did back up over here, just like we did back over here. These were Fed days where we had rate cuts, and we've sold off each time. This time is no different, as I've warned you. Get a sell-off with this. So we'll see. Do we start plunging, as I think we're going to? Do we get a topping tail by the end of the session here? How do we close? Do we close strong? Do we close weak? The signals, for the most part, remain bearish. A couple of signals are bullish because we're going sideways, but most of them are bearish, as I've said. And here, signals just going back and forth. The bars are going back from bearish to bullish, back and forth, bullish and bearish, because we're going sideways. We'll be watching to see if we get rejection off the 50 period in the daily. Do we come back, take out the support zone? And if so, then we've started getting the next leg down back over here with the Fed meeting on December 10th. But here, signals just going back and forth, a line going back and forth from bullish to bearish, just showing we're going sideways. Bar still red. Bar still red in the negative portion of the cloud. Now, intraday, some signals tried to flip back to bullish, but again, getting a topping tail, and that's being canceled out. Again, like I said, I don't think with the rallies that are taking place here off of this 83,000 area, I don't think you get back above 94,000, and we're seeing the rally stall at the 50 period moving average in the daily time frame. Again, still having red bars here, the negative portion of the cloud. And again, some signals tried to flip with the rally that we had, but the rally fizzled out, and they couldn't flip. They remain bearish. Again, the Bollinger Bands are tight. It's telling us that something is getting ready to happen. It takes its time setting up. Over here, the bands tightened up. We got the big drop. Over here, the bands tightened up. We moved to a new high. Over here, the bands tightened up. We had a dramatic drop. Over here, the bands tightened up. We dropped to a new low. They tightened up again, and we had this move higher. Bands tightening up again, the move higher. So again, this is telling us something is getting ready to happen. My guess is you're going to get another push down, eventually bottom out in January. Maybe it goes on into February. Signals have only been counter trends after we got the topic signals right before we peaked back over here. Again, we got above the downward channel line. It'll be interesting with their linear scale. It'll be interesting to see if we close below it. Still getting rejection at the purple line here. It continues to be resistance. This is what I think is going to happen. As I said, it could be pushed on into February. The end of January is the Fed meeting. We'll see. And again, some signals try to turn bullish, but they couldn't do it. We'll see how we close the session out, but right now you're trying to get a topping tail up the 50-period moving average in the daily time frame. Again, we're going sideways, so the trend is neutral. The trend is neutral at this point. We break the support zone. It will revert back to bearish. You still have a downtrend, and you have a series of lower highs and lower lows, but short term, we're going sideways. And we're in this trading range between 80,000 and 94,000. And again, there is no bottoming signal. I think you're going to break the 100-week moving average here, eventually move back down to the 200-week moving average. Signals remain bearish. Beautiful topping signal at the top, confirmed with sell signals. Bars have been red since the top. There's nothing bullish about this chart. Okay, it is the Monday session, and Bitcoin is down about 0.25%. Bitcoin had rallied up nearly 2.75%, and then it gave it all back, getting another topping tail, getting rejection at the 50-period moving average, overthrowing the trend line in our linear scaling, but moving towards the trend line with our log scaling. The Moonboys, they were so convinced, here we go, and it fizzles out. That's what we keep seeing with these rallies. They keep fizzling out. Look at these. If I bring it up close, again, I told you I predicted we would get a bottom and we get a Thanksgiving rally, and it would either go to just after Thanksgiving and they'd start selling again, or go into the Fed meeting. It went into the Fed meeting, and I predicted that correctly. It dropped nearly 11%, but look at the topping tails here. Got a little bit of a topping tail there. You got topping tails here as we had the Fed meeting and ahead of the Bank of Japan raising rates. You had topping tails, these rallies. We keep getting these 2.5%, 3%, 3.5% rallies, and they fizzle out. Look at this. Over and over and over again. Sellers are lurking in this area. We had rallied up. I told you we were going to go to the low to mid 90,000 range. We went to 94,000. I was correct. I told you we would not go above 98,900. I was correct about that. We've turned down. This is likely the counter trend before we get the next push down. We are breaking above the trend line. Tried to do it here ever so slightly. Now doing it here. But again, we'll see how we closed. Do we close strong? Do we close weak? But I'm just telling you, again, I'm going to continue to say it. 80,000 was not the bottom. Only thing that I think would give us a move above 94,000 right now is that if we got the larger bear market rally right now, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we're going to move further away from the 200-day moving average, which if I bring it up here, you can see it up here. That's the black line right there. I think we'll move further away from the 200-period moving average before rallying up to it. Now, again, it's possible that we get a larger bear market rally after just our 36% drop, but I think it's more likely we drop 40 to 50%, as I've said. I think you're going to go down and test 74,000. likely get closer towards 60 to 63,000 towards our 200-week moving average before you rally back up to the 200-day moving average. So I think you drop towards the 200-week, currently at 57,000. I think you'll probably bottom above it in the 60 to 63,000 level, or just above that. Again, that's approximately where I think we're going. A 50% drop to 52% drop there. And Bitcoin has had, on average, about a 50% drop, just over 50% drop when it kicks off the bear market. So I don't think we get it here, but possible, but I doubt it. I think we're just rallying up to the 50-period moving average, getting a lower high. I think you likely have a little 1 and a ABC for 2 maybe here, or we could have, this being 4 here, and then we can have in our wave 5, we can have 1, 2, and this is the first 1, 2 right here. This is slightly lower, but again, and this could be, A, B, C. Again, Elliott wave speculation, but I'm just showing you that, again, I don't think you move above 94,000. Right now we're getting a slightly lower high than this peak over here. So as I've said, it could be a 1 and a 2 and another 1 and a 2 for the wave 3 if we turn down and break the support zone here, 83,000 to 80,000. You break that level, then you get that sell off and you get a 1 2 1 2. I think that is very possible, or this whole thing being a larger 1 2 as far as that. But I think that's likely the case here. Again, if we can flip everything back to bullish, get above the 50 period and clear 94,000, then you have a shot at the larger counter trend right now back towards the 200. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we'll get it. I think we'll get it the bear market rally, and here's the 200 up here at 107,300 or so. I think you'll get the larger bear market rally, but I think you're going to get another drop first, as I've said. So again, there's going to be bounces along the way. Again, we've gotten counter trends. We've had a counter trend for this session. We've had a larger counter trend off of this low right here. Again, the counter trend over here, the counter trend back here, the counter trend here, the counter trend here, the counter trend here. You're going to have counter trends along the way. Nothing goes straight up, nothing goes straight down. And again, it fools the herd and the Moonboys and the experts into believing, here we go. But as I showed you, we had a bunch of topping tails, and this was nothing more than a counter trend. And again, I think we're going to take out 80,000 and move to 74,000, my next level. And eventually, I think you're going to move down towards 60 to 63,000. Head and shoulders played out beautifully. One possibility is that, again, we still have our linear trend line intact, and we end up closing below it, and you just had an intraday fake out above it. Or if we do get rejection here up to 50 and we close above that level, the trend line could be slightly changing. Which trend lines do you change? Not always, but sometimes. Another trend line I'm watching is this red trend line right here, because you could be setting up a large bullish falling wedge. Great Scott, did you hear what I just said? Yes, we could be setting up a large bullish falling wedge if we get the next leg down here, and I think you're going to eventually rally into 200 period moving average, but I think you'll move to the 200 week before that happens. I think the 100 week moving average is going to be taken out, but we're bouncing off of it and consolidating here. And this is very similar to what we did the last time around at the 50-week moving average in the last bear market before you broke it. You went down to the 100 back then. This time you're bouncing at the 100. You're going to go down to the 200 before we bottom, in my opinion. We'll see if we close positive or negative. Do we close with this topping tail? Do we close back below the trend line? We're above it. We got above it during the session, but we're getting rejection off the green line, the 50-period moving average. Now, with Bitcoin's log scaling, we're coming up to just that 50-period moving average, which is just directly underneath this trend line here. You can make the case that we're tagging it, but we're just a fraction underneath it. if we include the shadows right here. And this is the log scaling. And again, I look at log and linear scaling. Most people just look at linear. I get useful information from both, so I look at both. But if you draw a parallel boundary from these lows over here, again, this is where I think we're eventually headed. And from today's high, you're looking at, another 33% or so. I think by January, we're going to be down here at around 60 to 63,000, somewhere down in here, I think is where you're headed. And then I think you'll bottom, and then you'll get the big rally back up. But that would be a 63. Bitcoin 63,000 would be a 50% drop from 126,000. If we go a little bit lower, you're looking at, again, moving towards the 200-week moving average, towards 57,000, currently at 57,000. I think that could get us closer, to just over a 50% drop, maybe 50, like our last bear market, 52, 53%, somewhere around, 60,000, maybe 59,000, something like that. But going towards that 200-week moving average, currently at 57,000. That's where I think you're headed. I think you move to the 200-week in the weekly, and then I think you move back to this 200-day in the daily. But I think you're going to move further away from it, and then rally, massive rally. Come up here, get some kind of big sell-off, and then you come up towards it. And this could flatten out. This could even start turning back up. Again, the 200 period moving average is a long, slow moving average. But I expect you're going to move back towards it like we did the last bear market and the last couple of bear markets. You end up breaking it and then you move back towards it. That's what Bitcoin tends to do. I still think we're in wave 3, so I think you get a sell-off and then some kind of rebound, and then for a wave 3, a primary wave 4, maybe something bigger I should put there. And then I think you get this final dump into January. Maybe it spills over into early February, but I've been calling for this since the top. And again, we have the people telling us today we rallied up, nearly 3% today. It was just under 2.75%, close to 3% there. And going, oh, here we go. The same people that continue to tell us that everything's a bottom, the same people that told us we had a breakout at the top when I told you it was a fake out into major resistance at the flash crash, the largest liquidation in history. Oh, it's the bottom, and we go lower. Oh, it's the bottom, and we go lower. Oh, it's the bottom, and we go lower. And now they're calling this a bottom. Again, consider the source, okay? People were clueless to the top. They were clueless to the sell-off. A bunch of perma bulls, from perma-bull Moonboys syndrome, PMS, and everything is a bottom. Now, I think you're going to get a bigger rally. I think it'll be a bear market rally, and I think you have to move further away from this 200 period moving average in order to do that. So we'll see what happens with the trend line with our linear scaling. Again, trend lines sometimes change. That's common. Right now, we're rallying up into the trend line with our log scaling at the moment here. So nothing's changed. Again, I had some Moonboy attack me. I recently made a post and said, if you think the Bitcoin crashes is over, you're wrong. If you think Bitcoin's going to new highs, you're wrong. If you think 80,000 is the bottom, you're wrong. And as I often write, today is such and such date. It's not a good day. I should say it's a bad day to be bullish on Bitcoin. And this guy's laughing at me, saying what a dope I am. We had this rally and now it's fizzling out. And again, as I've said, even if we were to get the larger counter trend rally right now, it wouldn't change my view. I still believe that Bitcoin is topped. We may get the counter trend rally sooner. Do I think that's going to happen? Nah, I don't think so, but I'm open-minded to it. Still think that we're in a 5-leg push lower that's going to take us down into here somewhere based on history. The odds of that are very likely based on what Bitcoin has done in kicking off bear markets. So turning off the trend line with our log scaling, turning off of the 50 period moving average here in the daily time frame for Bitcoin. With our linear scaling, if we do see the angle of descent change with the trend line and we turn down, we could take the trend line from here or even exclude the shadow and have it very close to where we're at right now, depending on where we close. But even if you included, again, from this low here, just a parallel boundary excluding the shadow here, you've got still a falling channel, just excluding this lower shadow area here. Again, as I've said, it very well could be that we're forming a bullish falling wedge, similar to what we had back over here. It formed a bullish falling wedge going into that April 2025 low. But you can still have a channel, but however it plays out in the channel on the log scaling I showed you, or again, a bullish falling wedge, either pattern could develop. Let me repeat again, you're in a downtrend until proven otherwise. You have a series of lower highs and lower lows. Hello, do you see this? Lower highs, lower lows. That's a downtrend. Will somebody please explain this to the Moonboys, that we're in a downtrend? We don't even have a bullish divergence yet in the daily time frame. I think you'll eventually form one, and I think that we'll get the bear market rally, and then they'll become absolutely convinced with the next, big leg down here, the bottom is in. Now, again, dropped 36%. I don't think it's done. Historically, Bitcoin has dropped at least 45%. That was the smallest amount of a crash to kick off the bear market. Only dropped 36%, so I don't think this is done. I'll be watching going forward the potential channel or maybe a bullish falling wedge developing with the trend lines. We'll be looking, and we'll see. Again, do we end up closing right back below the trend line here and it remains intact, or do we include the shadow and the angle of ascent slightly changes, or descent, I should say. The angle of descent slightly changes. Numbers are still red here. When we break 80,000 in the coming days ahead, we're going to break 80,000 and we're going to move to a new low. The Moonboys, their heads are going to explode because they are absolutely convinced the bottom is now in. And all the experts, again, they've moved their targets forward, and a lot of them are in January and February. We're going to be at brand new highs in January and February. And again, you're likely going to get another leg down, probably bottom in January or February, and then get your bear market into March or April or something like that, into 200-day moving average. But you're moving closer to the 200-week moving average first. And again, most of my signals are bearish. A couple of them are still bullish, like right here, and that's because we're going sideways. So some of the signals are still hanging in there because we're going sideways. So we got to take out the support zone. If we're going to see everything be in agreement and take out the 80,000 to 83,000 support zone here. And if you do that, again, you're moving down here towards 74,000. Probably take it out, go to 70, 71, 72, 73,000, something like that. Probably get a bounce there. And they'll call another bottom, but you're probably going to not bottom out until you're down over around 50% or more, which is 63,000. I think you get closer to that 200-week moving average at around 57,000. I think you'll end up dropping to 60 to 63,000, just above it. I just want to continue to point out on this weekly chart, we have confirmed a bear market. We've confirmed a bear market in the daily, the weekly, and the monthly time frame. I've talked about that in my videos. I've shown you how we've confirmed it here by 2 consecutive closes below the 50-week moving average. And again, we confirmed a bear market with that on November 23rd, 2025. You closed below the 50-week moving average, and then you got another open and close below the 50-week moving average, 2 consecutive closes below the 50-week moving average, confirming a bear market, just like what we had back at the last bear market. When we did that, we closed below the 50-week, and we opened to close below it again, and that confirmed the bear market. That's exactly what we've done right here, and confirming a bear market. We broke this trend line right here. We back tested it. We're bouncing right now off the 100-week moving average. I think you're likely to take that out. Over here, it's very interesting. Over here in the last bear market, we are further away from the 200 week than we are right now. We were further away from the 100-week moving average as well. You move back to the 50 and you consolidated around it. Just as we move back to the 100 right here, we've consolidated around it. Eventually you broke it, you moved to the 100-week moving average just above it. I think you'll break the 100-week move towards the 200-week moving average just above it, currently around 57,000. And then I think you'll get the bigger rebound back up to the 50-week moving average. Notice that we are below the momentum cloud here. We topped out, turned off of this trend line, like clockwork, with our 4-year cycle coming to a conclusion right on time. You got, again, another Moonboy hoax. Oh, we don't have the 4-year cycle anymore. Now it's the super cycle. They dismiss something that has happened and in the past that has played out very nicely to believe something that has never happened. Absolutely incredible, but yet another Moonboy hoax. These people promote hoax after hoax after hoax, and people continue to fall for it. It amazes me, the hopium, how people are so willing, so gullible to believe the Moonboy hoaxes. It's incredible. I just want to point out to you, you have some people now saying we're going to have this bear market rally right now. I don't think so. I think we move further away from that 50-week moving average like we did over here. I think you take out this low right here and you move back towards this one here. So too, I think that we take out this low here and move back towards this one here, but don't take it out. I think you'll find support at that 100 period, like back over here. I think you'll find support at the 200-week moving average over here. So I think there's some similarities here as far as these lows right here. You got some people saying that we're going to bounce right now. That would be a smaller bear market rally. I think you move further away and get a larger bear market rally, likely back towards the momentum cloud, likely, or even over here, we got above the momentum cloud, above the 50-week, moving back to the 200-day moving average right on the nose. But listen, I think you move to the 200-week moving average, then you move back up to the 200-day moving average. That's what I think is going to happen. So again, and that is going to take us closer to my target, the lower end of my target, towards 60 to 63,000 or so, in my opinion. Bitcoin has a 50-50 sell signal. The RSI is below 50, price is below 50. As long as you have that, that is a bearish signal, a 50-50 sell, what I call a 50-50 sell signal, the RSI being below 50 and Bitcoin being below 50. When you had the 50-50 sell signal over here, again, you remained in the negative region, and the pull-ups to the 50 level here, just overthrowing it, that was the pullback towards the 50 period moving average. But you were in the negative region here throughout the bear market, and you're likely going to see the same thing here. Here we were in the bullish region, and the pullbacks towards the 50 were the pullbacks towards the 50-week moving average, towards the just under the 50 level in the RSI. Those were the buying opportunities in the uptrend. Now you've flipped, and now you're in a downtrend. The pull-ups, and eventually we'll get one moving back towards the 50 level again, likely when we move back towards the 50-period moving average. But I think you're, in all likelihood, going to move further away from the 50-week like we did over here. I think you'll move further away from that 50-week moving average. And again, get on average that 50% drop to kick off the bear market.